I'm here today to talk about automating all of the things, how to take advantage of all of the free tools or any tools that you're already using across your process and orchestrate them into your end-to-end delivery pipeline. So my name is Avan Mathur. I'm a product manager at ElectricFlow. Until recently, I was also working on site with a number of our customers, helping them do these implementations on site. So I'm going to start out with a few slides outlining the problems that we often see out there, give you a little bit of background on our product, and then I'll jump into a demo with a kind of simple application example where we'll take it through the pipeline and integrate with a number of tools along the way. So we will be taking a look at what we see software delivery pipelines often looking like. But to start, what does your pipeline look like? Is it a straight shot from check-in all the way to your production environment? If so, you probably look like the smiling guy with the thumbs up, very happy, probably here bragging to everyone how great your pipeline is. But a lot of the time what we see is that people are here, where it's not an easy process. It's not a straight shot. There's a lot of complexity. There are manual steps that are required along the way. There are legacy processes that you have to bring into the process, and it's not easy. And then on top of that, there are tools that you need to integrate with. So, adding this complexity, what it does is it adds the possibility of failures in your deployments, and it adds the length of your cycle time. So what we want to do, is work towards getting up there, and it's a process, and we understand that, and so we'll be talking a little bit about that. So the challenges that we have are actually magnified when you look at the number of tools that are being used across your processes. Here you can see one team, the tools that they're using. They're using a lot of tools. But this is actually something that a lot of teams are able to automate, take all of these tools, put them together in their pipeline for this single team. And many smaller teams do this. But what happens when you take a broader look? You're looking across your organization. You have multiple teams, and each team is using their own set of tools. Here, team 1 has their own set. Team 2, we have team 3 that, solving similar problems but choosing other tools. And then we go on, across your organization, and this it just increases. So, each of these teams might be looking at the same problem. They might be having different perspectives on this problem and choosing the tools that they think are right for their processes. And it's not always easy to get someone to change their mind, for one, because they're using the tool that they think is best for the goal, which is shared across these teams, which is delivering the best software. And if you look at the market in general, there are a lot of tools available, each to solve similar sets of problems. And most companies actually have at least 2 of each kind of tool. So it's not like very easy to go and standardize across your entire organization. And this list is growing, There is new innovation every day. There are new people coming in and solving these problems in new ways. And it's good to have choices, to have options of how to solve our problems. And they're solving those specific pain points within your software delivery process. So it's great to have the options, and people gravitate towards the tools that they like, but how do all of these fit into our pipeline? So we're going to look at a commit pipeline. This is a sample pipeline. On the left, we're looking at our commit pipeline starting with development. And along the way, there are places where we can have integrations. So, starting with our build, we have probably an SCM tool that we're integrating with, a CI engine to run our builds, and then we get into test. We might be using OpenStack to provision environments for running our tests. We are going to be using some test tools to run those tests, and once the tests complete, we also want to go ahead and decommission those environments to make sure we're not having that VM sprawl and zombie environment sitting out there. And beyond this, you could have a manual approval where someone comes in and needs to approve before we move on into our release pipeline. So our commit pipeline will feed into the release pipeline. And here again, with each stage, we have points of integration. We're going to see the same processes across integration, pre-prod, and production. Again, we might be bringing up a VM. We might be configuring it with something like Chef or Puppet, running our application deployment again, and pushing our application across all of these environments. The important thing here is to have that fidelity of process, of environment, of artifact that is being pushed across this entire pipeline. What you want is what was generated all the way back in your build process to be what is being pushed across the pipeline. And then aside from that, making sure you're using the same model and the same process to push that. So as you get further down your pipeline, your confidence increases in your application and readiness, in the tests that are being run, and in the process that you're going to run in production before you pull that trigger. So, once, many companies, what we see is will then have multiple commit pipelines flowing into their release pipeline. It's not just one team working on a single, component application. This is a large application where there are multiple components. You have multiple teams, again, working on the different pieces and then converging into the release. And each of those teams, as we know, are using multiple tools. There are different tools that they're using across. And so each pipeline can introduce those different tools. While someone is using bare metal, someone might be using cloud environments. And some users or some customers that we work with have smaller numbers of tools, but what we really see more commonly is that people have a large number of tools across their organization. There are 60 plus tools that could be used across this entire process. So without a single way to orchestrate all of this, I think most of us would end up like that overwhelmed emoji. So what we want is a process, a way to plug all of this into one orchestration where you can see everything that's happening and have that centralized control. So, it brings up the question, how many tools does your team use? What does your stack look like? How do you, or how would you, orchestrate all of those tools across your pipeline? So our take on this is, don't replace, orchestrate. It can be challenging to have that sprawl of tools across the organization, but it's also actually not really easy. It's not feasible to, try to standardize across your different teams or mandate that only this subset of tools is what you can use. You're going to, for one, get developers who don't want to change, and it's going to cause people to have to reinvent the wheel, restart their entire development process, where if you can have a way to plug all of these in and orchestrate it, you're going to make it much easier for teams to come on board into your pipeline release process. So it allows for easy migration. It allows them to onboard quickly without having to reinvent the wheel. And for those of you who were in the session right before this, we've actually been doing this in practice at one of our largest customers who are in the process of onboarding 6,000 applications onto ElectricFlow. And the way we're doing this is we're using our DSL to build a model that is driven by a definition that these users pass in. It's defined in JSON, and they pass it in. And then the pipeline is generated as they require. And a part of that is them passing in what are their integration points? What app server are they using? This is a large organization. It's a big bank. There's 6,000 applications. Of course, they're not all using the same tools. They have Windows platforms, Linux. They're using all of the app servers you can think of. And there's no way we're going to get them to move or change to all one. So what we do is as they define their application, they provide the information. What's the app server they are using? We use the right plugin at that place, pass in the appropriate parameters, and we're able to model it quickly and onboard these apps quickly. That is the really important part when you're going across an entire organization, making it easy for these new users, new teams to come on, take what they're actually already using, and bring it in and orchestrate it across. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our product, ElectricFlow. This is really how we're driving our orchestration pipelines. So you can orchestrate your end-to-end pipeline using shared models for your applications, processes, environments, and for overall releases comprised of multiple applications. And this is with a single push of one button. It gives you the shared control and visibility that you're going to need. You can dig into each approval for auditability. You can view across all of your environments to see what is deployed where. You can see where you are in your path to production. What is my current status as I'm moving along in my release? And the product is enterprise grade. It works well for small DevOps shops, but it is also ready for when you need to scale up across your organization. It's providing the scalability, the flexibility, the high availability that you need at that large scale. So on top of the automation platform, we have our interaction points. We have our Flow UI. Aside from that, we have APIs, the REST API and SDK, and then the DSL that we've been talking about. And then on top of the platform, what we have is a few built-in solutions for automating the different use cases that you have. So build test, we have a CI engine for bringing in your CI that can then feed into the deploy use case for where we allow you to model your applications, separate the what from the where your application is deployed, so you can define your application, your process, and have and then apply that to each environment that you run it against. And those environments could be, on hardware. It can be virtual. It can be containers. Whatever you need. And then we can take that single application deployment across pipelines, push it across different environments. And beyond that, we have the release where we can coordinate multiple applications into a release pipeline in order to, manage dependencies, coordinate your full number of applications that are part of a release, and make sure that there are no problems, on your servers as you're deploying these multiple applications, and you can schedule these as is required for your release cadence. And then finally, we can really automate any use case. It's a very flexible, very powerful platform that is underneath this, that is tried and tested across very large scale use cases. So ElectricFlow boosts release security, velocity, and transparency by orchestrating the tech stack your team already uses. A few quick numbers from some of our customers where they've seen the transformative benefits from using our product. What you see here is a pattern of faster time to deploy. Family Search, they went from 90 days to develop and deploy their applications down to 10 minutes. So that is pretty crazy, pretty cool. And then less errors, right? As you're automating, you're having the repeatability, you're reducing the errors that can be introduced into your processes. We have also at the bottom Lockheed Martin, where because we're adding that traceability, we're adding that monitoring and collection of data in one place, it increases their ability to audit their processes. So they went down from 20 days to minutes to do the auditing that is required. So this is the advantages of using our tool. All right, enough about the product. Let me move into the demo. So let me give you a quick look at what I will be showing you. So this is just the example of the pipeline, kind of a different view. So we will have a developer, doing some coding. They'll modify the application and then commit into my simple application. I'm using Git, so I'll be integrating with Git to check out and build code. Running the build itself through Jenkins, and then on success, using Docker, so the application is built and as a Docker image and published to a Docker repository, and then deployed to the QA environment So in all of these places, you can imagine the different tools you might be using instead. You could be using any SCM tool. You could use the ElectricFlow built-in CI engine as well. We allow you to integrate with Jenkins because we know a lot of smaller teams are using that and might want to bring that in as well as they're making the transition. Then we run tests on Selenium. And finally, on success, deploy to Docker, and we have our thumbs up. So let me go ahead and show you how we can do this. Oh. All right. So this is my application. It's very simple. As I mentioned, it is a dashing dashboard widget with a clock. So we get to see the time of day here. It's a very easy Docker container that I've put here, but what I don't like is the orange, so I'm going to change that. Oh, I had a paper. There it is. Okay, so let me just make a quick change. Oh, this is not what I wanted to do. I will actually view the file and edit it. And I'm going to change it to my blue color. And then I will quickly check this in. All right, so I've committed my change. Now if I come into my ElectricFlow CI dashboard, it takes a little while, so I'm going to not wait for it to kick off the build. I'm going to run it manually, but what will happen shortly is it will pick up that change and kick off my configuration here, but I'm just going to simulate that and run my configuration manually. This is our CI dashboard in ElectricFlow where you can see all of your CI jobs running through. So I kick this off, and then I'm linked to my pipeline that was started. So here's my pipeline view. This is the pipeline within ElectricFlow of that same process that I was showing you. So the first stage here built my application and published to Docker. So if I come in and look at the details, I have a build stage and then test and publishing my Docker image. If I go into the build job, I actually link here to my changelog report, so I have all of the information that I need in the one place. This is my git commit that I just did. So now within my build is complete, I've published the image. I have a manual approval here, which is optional for you to come in, allow your developer to approve this before it goes into production. This is assigned to the admin user, but of course, it would be assigned to the appropriate user in your organization to make this approval. And then you can add your comments for auditability, come in and understand why were these decisions made. So with that, I move into QA. In QA, I'm actually deploying my application into my environment. These stages are relatively simple. You can add whatever processes are required in this list of tasks. So I've already done my very quick Docker deployment, and now I'm running a set of Selenium tests against this. And the Selenium reports that were generated are linked right here for viewing. So I can come in and look at the results. I can look at the screenshot that was grabbed. So this is the results of my tests. We've passed, we're looking good. And then I come into my screenshot. I don't see the clock, but I see that the color was changed successfully. So with that, I have one more approval here that I've added before I go into production. I want to make sure someone can go in and look at these test results, make sure they look good. These can also be automated. So if I have 100 tests being run, if I'm okay going on, if 95% of them pass, I can automate that as well. So I will approve, and move to production, and in production I'm having the exact same deployment process being run to have that fidelity across my environments, where I'm taking that same artifact that was generated in my build stage and push it across all of my environments. So let's take a look. With demos I always cross my fingers, but there we go. So we have a blue background and our deployment was successful. So I can take you in quickly. I think we have a little bit of time to show you the definition of my pipeline as well, where you can see how this actually comes together, where you can define your various tasks. So these are my different stages, and I can add additional approvers before and after each stage. Yeah?
I have a question. So the output from the test that you ran, can you use those to drive decisions along the pipeline?
Definitely, definitely. So test outputs, any data that is generated from a previous process can be saved and passed on to further down your processes, and then you can have decision points based on that. So as I come in here, if I look, mainly what I'm seeing the two steps that I have. I ran a deploy process that was assigned to my, that is defined in my application. If I look at this definition, I have the option of, multiple things that can be run from here. It can be an application process. It can be a procedure which I write. It can be a plugin which is integrating with one of your tools. And so the main thing here that you see here is that it's running the deploy process from my clock dashboard application onto the environment clock dashboard QA. If I come back and look at the production environment, I'm running the exact same process, deploy process from the same application. The only thing that's changing is the environment, the where of where it's going. So you have that confidence of your process that if it worked in QA, I'm going to see the same results in production. Was there another question?
I've been using ElectricFlow procedures and workflows. I haven't ventured into pipelines or applications at this point. Are there histories of your pipelines that have run, like if you've been running pipelines?
Definitely, definitely. You can go back and look. I can look at the history of runs for my pipeline and see where I am. I have some that I didn't ever complete. They're sitting there. But so those are what show up first, but you can see all of the pipelines that you've run for a given definition.
Are there parameters and properties for pipelines?
Yes, and that's a big thing. So that's a big part of our product. In the platform, we allow parameters and properties on all of the objects procedures, which are kind of the runnable components that create jobs at our platform level. And we've definitely taken that same system and ideas up to the deploy side, where you can parameterize everything. And that's what we want you to do, is make these processes reusable. We have the ability to have master components that are reusable components that can be taken across your application. You can parameterize and save properties in early stages to be used in later stages. That was like our previous question. So you can take test results, save them, and then push them on to feed them into later processes. And then I'm just going to show you my application model here is very simple. It's a single tier application. So we have a single tier for my dashboard. Depending on your application, you might have a front end, a back end, a database tier with multiple components. A component represents an artifact that is part of your application. So in this case, I have a single tier, a single component. And if I look into the details, the component has a reference to where it lives. So you might be, in this case, I'm using Docker. I'm using our integration with Docker, pointing to my Docker repository, but you could point it to, your own Maven-based repository, or use our built-in artifact repository for that. And then finally, I have my mapping then of my application to the different environments. So I have environments that have the same exact tier structure where each tier maps to the tiers in the environment. So I have my 2 environments, and in this case, I have the 1 tier for my dashboard to live on. All right, I think I am out of time. Are there any other questions? Thank you. Oh, one quick note I wanted to make, sorry, before I go. We have our ElectricFlow Community Edition available on our website. So everything that I've done here today, you can do yourself on ElectricFlow Community Edition. It's free to download. Go download it, give it a try. Let us know what you think. So yeah, enjoy. Thank you.